Hey everyone, welcome to the RotoGrinders Morning Grind podcast. I'm your host, Stevietpfl. It's Monday, it's May 6th, it is 2024. We have a 6-game on the 6th MLB slate to talk about here on today's podcast. Hope everyone had a fantastic weekend. Joined today by my good buddy, Will Priester, ChiefJustice06. Chief, what's happening, my friend?
Nothing much, brother. I think we were both a little busy this weekend, but we're back in the saddle, ready to talk a little MLB DFS, which, as I always say, Stevie, my favorite time of year. I love MLB, and I am excited. Hopefully, I can link up with Christy later on this season with a live final seat, and if that happens, it's going to be a party. I'll be happy to see her. I've seen her. Man, I don't I don't think I've seen Christy in years, like years, like a really long time, if at all. So hopefully I can bank this one and get to see her there. She's kind of one of my secret faves. Like she's just so consistent, but nobody actually like thinks about it. But she goes almost every live final. It's amazing. So hopefully I get to meet her there.
Yeah, long weekend. I had a 23-hour day yesterday. I'm running on like 4 hours of sleep. So, but yeah, great weekend. Just had a really bummer end of the NASCAR race. Like it was like a $1,700 swing for me. So like I'm trying to get like in the go mode. Baseball always does that for me, which is nice. But usually I have like a nice little like 30 or nice like 3 to 4 hour like break before like between NASCAR and like getting on the podcast, and like the race ended like 30 minutes ago. So mentally trying to like, and you know, you have some of those, right, where it's like you are gonna win on some of those and you're gonna lose on some of those. And I mean that's just DFS, right? So um yeah, we got 6 games. Interesting slate. It's a really, really,
Really.
really interesting slate, for sure. What's up, YouTube? Hope you're all having a fantastic Cinco de Mayo. Did you do some tacos today, Will?
No, I was on the road all weekend. I basically I left my son's basketball tournament, went to help take care of my dad because he had some surgery, and I drove home today. So I left Friday, drove up, left, drove from there to my parents' house yesterday, and then today I drove back home after this evening. So I was a bit detached this weekend, so I'm just glad to be back.
Yeah. I'm ready to be back, ready to get going. Rough weekend. Glad the morning grind is back. Hey, I'm glad the morning grind is back too. Will, you should have went and got tacos at the place that you and I had the families at and had some
Oh
tacos.
man, yeah,
That
yeah,
place is solid. Yeah,
Azul, yeah,
that place
yeah,
is
for
solid. So
sure.
there you go. All right, let's talk some baseball. 6 games, and let's jump in and have some fun here. We got San Diego at Chicago taking on the Cubbies. 7 total. Anytime you see a 7 total in Wrigley, you're like, all right, well, what's the weather doing? like that's it. That's the first thing that like I always think of is like anytime you see a 7 total in Wrigley, you're like, all right, is the wind blowing in for this game? So I looked it up really quick before we got rolling. About 10 to 15 miles an hour blowing in from center field. We'll see what Roth has to say tomorrow. You Darvish, Justin Steele in this one. I don't know if I said it, but Cubs a minus 126 favorite. Any interest here in you Darvish?
Um, I really haven't played a whole lot of you. What I will say, Stevie, is I do like his price, and I think at this price, with the situation, he might end up being one of the highest owned pitchers on the slate, especially considering the other options we have. I do think there's one guy down here at the bottom that you know people may be interested in, but I feel like in this spot, I think Darvish might end up being the guy here.
Yeah,
I'm saying in that lower range, in that lower range.
I mean, he came back and he pitched okay. Didn't have any really like hiccups or anything like that. So I mean, that's a really good sign. But Through 70 pitches, only had 3 strikeouts against a pretty high Cincinnati strikeout team. So that's a little concerning. But like Cubs lineup a little bit watered down overall, so I could see Darvish having a solid game here. Wind blowing in at Wrigley, definitely a bump to the pitchers. And like Darvish's strikeout rate's been a little bit higher against lefties. They're gonna have a few lefties in this lineup, so yeah. I mean, overall, I think Darvish is okay, but that's gonna be a consistent like thing that I say on the podcast today. I think pitching is okay.
Yeah.
That's just kind of where I'm at. I
Yep.
just at first glance, I didn't really love anything on this slate as far as pitching. So, yeah, let's go to the other side. Justice Steele coming off the IL with a hamstring injury for him. He threw 63 pitches in his only rehab start. So if we kind of play off of the 15 to 20 pitch like increase, we're looking at around 80 pitches for Justin Steele at 9K against San Diego. Any interest here in Steele?
Yeah, I think I got to fade Steele, Stevie. You know, the Padres are a team that hasn't been striking out a ton this season, and I like Steele, but I think I prefer to take him in a different matchup. And I mean, he was honestly having a good spring training as well, Steve, before he got hurt. So I like him as a pitcher. I think he's going to be fine long term. But I'm not going to pull the trigger today against San Diego. I'm going to let it ride.
Yeah, I just worry about the pitch count. 9K.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah,
nothing else like that. The matchup. Justin Steele definitely has some upside. He showed upside last season a lot. So we know the upside is potentially there, but like the strikeouts are low. They put the ball in play a lot. They don't strike out. It just seems like a bad spot to pay 9K for Justin Steele. I don't know if I necessarily want to stack against him, but I don't know if I want to play him here. I just don't know if his ceiling is good enough. Any interest in the Padres bats?
I mean, maybe if you want to take some power with Tatis. I don't hate that, Steve. You're like a smaller slate. Like Tatis could easily get a hold of one or two, even in in interesting conditions. But generally speaking, I don't want to stack them either. They did add our good friend buddy Luis Arias, who is another low strike. Like that, this lineup just keeps getting lower in terms of strikeouts. But obviously, I'm not playing him either. But I do think a one-off with Tatis, with the power he has, is okay.
Did you see the press release that was released by the Marlins? They're like, "Hey, we're just not going to make the playoffs this year." Like just straight up, like not sugarcoating it at all. I mean, that is such a great thing to say this early in the season. I'm sure your players are definitely show up and want to play for you. I mean, I'm a little concerned about the wind, so I want to see like how the wind kind of plays out here, just in general. But overall, I mean, I definitely have some interest in Machado. I have interest in Kim. I have interest in Tatis. They're really good against left-handed pitching. Maybe there's a little bit of rust here for Justin Steele, who's kind of been out for a little while. So, yeah, I mean, I definitely don't mind getting some exposure here to some of these power righties. Moving on, right? Nothing else? That was it? Oh, yeah, Cubs.
Mm-hmm. I'm not playing the Cubs either. Once again, I think this spot, I feel like I'm going to end up liking Darvish a little bit more than I should later in the day, Steven. So I'm just going to kind of play the ownership game with him. And I know you asked me about the bats, but my point is I think Darvish is good enough to keep the Cubs limited some. Even on a small slate, once again, if it's anybody, it's probably a one-off, like Hap or something like that. I don't think I'll play Swanson in this spot. Morel, it shows some power, maybe a one-off Bush, but like I'm not stacking the Cubs like at all.
Yeah, I mean, I typically don't mind playing a couple bats against like Darvish, but again, the wind is concerning here for me. Yep. So I am a little concerned about that. Like Darvish does give up, a good amount of fly balls to like lefties. So I'd play lefties, but if the wind's going to be blowing in, it's tougher to play these lefties. So on a 6-game slate, though, like I just don't see myself getting to a lot of Cubs bats today.
Yeah. Yep. Same here.
Derek says, "What's the logo on my hat? Looks like an open face sandwich." Will, any guesses on my new Brewers affiliate hat? This is a AAA Nashville Sounds. I'm giving it away. Brewers minor league hat.
You said Nashville Sounds?
Nashville Sounds.
And you want me to guess what the logo is?
Yeah, what's the logo?
Is that Hattie B's hot chicken?
It's a hot chicken. I don't know if they necessarily would call it Hattie B's.
I know.
Nice little Nashville Sounds hot chicken hat. I told you all that I was gonna get a Brewers hat because I love the Brewers this year. We're going into about to talk about the Brewers, so it kind of worked out perfectly. But yeah, it's a Nashville Sounds, which is the Brewers AAA team, and got it, dude. When I was like, I got to get a Brewers hat. I got to get a minor league Brewers hat because you know me.
Look,
but
I must say, Stevie, listen, man. If something ever happens to you before it happens to me, I'm calling Katie for your massive minor league hat collection. You've got to have one of the best minor league hat collections in the industry, like hands down. I know this.
I mean, I have a few of them, that's for sure. she'd probably send them to you now. She wouldn't even wait. She'd be like, "What's the address?" It's funny because she bought me this hat thing a few years ago. It's probably like 5 or 6 years ago now, and it literally holds like 180 hats. And it's in the office, and it's always full, and there's still hats like laying around all over the place. So, but yeah. All right, we got sidetracked a little bit, but we had fun. Milwaukee, hey, the Brewers at Kansas City, 8.5 total in this game. Kansas City a 148 favorite. We got Bryce Wilson against Cole Ragans. Bryce Wilson, any interest in Wilson here? Mr. Magic Man going up against the Royals?
No, forget it.
Yeah, I mean this guy is just destroying some DFS teams, man. Like it's very interesting because like Bryce Wilson, not very good. But he's been decent this season.
He will turn into a pumpkin really soon.
You look at his advanced stats, and you're like, "There's a lot of regression coming.
Oh, it's
a lot of regression." So, can't wait to talk about the Royals bats on this one. But let's go to the pitcher here. We got Cole Ragans, 8,800. He left the last game early with
it was a leg cramp, I think.
He was at 105 pitches. He didn't leave the game early. He was at 105 pitches. I understand they probably wanted to try to let him get one more out, to get that 7th inning. But like Cole Ragans looked absolutely dominant in that Toronto game last time out. Any interest here in Ragans?
I mean, at 8,800, Stevie, I think he's got more pure upside than Yu Darvish. And I mean, the strikeout stuff has still been there. Like if he can pitch with good control. Not walk a handful of guys. I mean, he walked a handful of guys in the Toronto game, Steven. Still almost with 7, 9 strikeouts. Like when a guy's got that type of strikeout upside on this small of a slate, Steve, I think you've got to consider him. I'm in for sure at 8,800. No doubt about it.
Yeah, I'm definitely interested. Again, I am very much on Team Brewers this season, just because they're having a fantastic year, but I like them a lot more against right-handed pitching. Right-handed pitching, I feel like they're really close to like a top 10 team in baseball. But like left-handed pitching, they have an 85 WRC plus. Their average is under 200, one of the worst averages in baseball. Their strikeout rate bumps all the way up to 25.5%. This is a great spot for Cole Ragans. I think this is a spot you're definitely playing some Cole Ragans, depending on like how many teams you build. You're probably going to play quite a bit of Cole Ragans today. I know I'm going to play quite a bit of him in like a 20-incher max build. So I think this is a good spot for Cole Ragans, and hopefully his calf is okay at 104 pitches. Yeah. 104 pitches. Left the game early. The calf. He's over 100 pitches, no big deal.
Yeah.
First time all season he's thrown over 100 pitches, but he left the game early.
Right. Incredible reporting. Incredible.
Oh, just fantastic stuff. All right. Let's talk some bats here. Any interest in the Milwaukee Bats?
No, I'm going full fade on. Well, I take that back. I'm going full fade. Yeah, I'm not lying. I'm going full fade. I'm just not going to play Milwaukee. They're going real tight pool. So I'm going to trust Reagans here to get it done. He'll give up some hits, but hopefully he can limit the damage.
Yeah, so far, like very short timing from what we saw last year and this year. He's been kind of reverse splitsy. Like he's actually been really solid against righties. His pitch mix is really good against righties. He throws a lot of changeups against righties, a lot of cutters, and it just kind of keeps him off balance, and he does a good job. If you're not like, okay, like if you're playing a lot of Reagans and like you're like, hey, how do I hedge against Reagans? I think the hedge is really easy. It's Contreras, Adames, Hoskins. Those three guys hit left-handed pitching really well. I still prefer the Reagan side of this, but if you're like, hey, it's baseball, there's variance. Maybe his calf pops up and he's at 100 pitches and he has to leave the game early. And I get some of these right-handed power bats. I don't hate that. Like I don't hate those three power righties at the top half of this lineup.
Yeah.
The other side of this one, Royals might be my top stack on the slate today.
Bro, listen.
I like the Dodgers a lot. We're going to talk about the Dodgers. Don't get me wrong. I really like the Dodgers today, but it's really hard not to love Kansas City against Bryce Wilson. We've seen this story with Bryce Wilson too long to know like there's some regression coming to what he's doing.
Big time regression, Stevie. And what I'm liking about Kansas City, listen, man, I love low strikeout teams, Stevie. I'm a sucker for low strikeouts because at some point, this team is going to string together 10, 12, 15 runs. They've already done it. I think they've scored 10 to 15 a couple of times this season already. I know one time I had them stacked up. But my point is this, Stevie. Garcia, 20%. Witt, 18%. Pasquantino, 10%. Salvador Perez, 10% to righties so far this season. This season, I think that's going to tick up some. Maxey, 11%. Melendez, 20. Furman, 10. Frazier, 18. Isbell, 16. Now, look. Do all of these guys have power? No, like Garcia's at, a 112, Furman's at, 0.091, and Adam Frazier's 0.034. But Bobby Witt, 223 ISO, Pasquantino, 209, Sal Powell, 278, Massey, 242, Melendez, 218. Like they're low strikeouts, high power, and Bryce Wilson has been, dare we say, David Copperfield, his first few starts. Stevie, the time is coming, and you might as well just keep taking the good teams against him. And at some point, he's going to crack. I love this team today. One of my favorite stacks, bar none.
All right, Seattle at Minnesota is where we go next. We got a 7.5 total, and Seattle's a 122 favor. You want to know how bad Seattle's offense is right now? They're a 122 total with Luis Castillo against Simone Woods Richardson. That's where we're at, Will. That's where we're at. All right. Luis Castillo going up against a high strikeout Minnesota team. I think Luis Castillo is your chalky pitcher today. I think that he's going to be the one that like everybody plays. Like if we knew Walker Buehler was going to throw like 95 pitches against Miami, he would definitely be the chalk. But I think pitch count and a little bit of rust there for Walker Buehler. Like he's coming off Tommy John. He did not look sharp in his 6 outings. And
hasn't pitched since 2022, I think it is as well.
Yeah.
Like a real team.
Yeah, he's been out for a while.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts here on Luis Castillo?
I'm just going to play him. I mean, it's a small slate, Stevie. And I think with the pitching options we have, even if his ownership gets a touch higher than I want it to be, it's probably not going to matter. He's got one of the longest leashes, probably one of the best all-around pitchers. Like, even if he doesn't dial up 10 strikeouts, Stevie, you could probably about pencil him in for 6 here. And if he doesn't lose any control, he's probably going 6 innings. Like, so while I do think his ownership may creep, I don't know if it's going to creep enough for him in a 6-game slate where I do think he's the best pitcher in terms of skills, overall ability right now. Now, Cole Riggins could get there later on. Yu Darvish is who he is. I think Castillo's the best pitcher. I'm just going to play him.
Listen, I think Luis Castillo is a phenomenal play today, but I also think like this might be one of the best leverage spots that we have on the slate because Luis Castillo struggles with lefties. He's still going to strike out righties at a huge clip. Strikeout rate goes way down against lefties. His WOBA goes way up. His ISO goes way up. His hard hits go way up. He struggles with lefties. They're going to run 6 to 8 lefties at him, and Minnesota is 10th in WRC plus against right-handed pitching this season. They're not awful. We target them because they strike out, but they're not awful. They have good hitters in this lineup. So when I'm looking at it and I'm like, is Luis Castillo going to pop off for like 40, 50% ownership today? Because it is a small slate. He's under 10K. We have some cheaper options. Walker Buehler's pitch count is a concern. Is that going to be a thing? I mean, I think you have to play a little bit. Even if you want to be underweight on Castillo, I think like his upside is just, he has one of the highest ceilings on the slate. But I also don't hate the idea. Like if you're running like a 20-incher max and you're playing, let's just say 40% Castillo. I don't hate the idea of running like 20% Minnesota stacks on non-Castillo teams because I do think this spot represents one of the best leverage spots we have on the slate. If Castillo struggles at high ownership and Minnesota goes off, you're way ahead of the field. Now, do I think you have to full stack them? No, you could definitely 4-man stack them. But I do think this is a spot where Minnesota is interesting. And I know I kind of switch right to the bats there. We'll go back to it in a second. But I like Castillo quite a bit. It's just, I also think Minnesota is sneaky good against righties. They do strike out, though. Any interest here in Woods Richardson?
Steve, so let me say this. I don't actually want to play him, and I want to play so much of him at the same time.
It's so true. Oh,
you know what
said
I mean?
It better. Yeah.
I don't think he's great, but this Seattle team has been so, like, if you think Minnesota's been striking out, like, this team has been significantly worse in my book in terms of across the board. Like, I feel like Minnesota has a 30% guy, a 20% guy, a 30% guy, This, Stevie, against right-handed pitching, outside of Josh Rojas and Ty France, Rodriguez 29%, Polanco 35%, which is very surprising. I expect that to come down a tick, but I mean the season's rolling. Cal Raleigh 32%, Garver 35%, Luke Raley 31%, Dylan Moore 34%, Luis Arias 46%. And I expect that to come out. He's got very limited plate appearances, but then they're not hitting for power either, Steven. That's been my concern with this team. If you're going to strike out, if you show me the power, I feel much better. Stevie, high strikeouts and not demonstrating the power. And so that's my explanation for Simeon Richardson. I think you're playing.
Yeah. I don't think he's a great pitcher.
No, I don't.
But Seattle strikes out at such a high clip that, I mean, on a 6-game slate, I think you have to have a little bit of exposure to him here. I think he's going to get hit a little bit for sure. Yeah. He's done a great job limiting power, but some of the advanced metrics for him definitely suggest there's a lot of regression. Like his BABIP is really favorable. So, yeah, I mean, overall, I have a little interest in him, and I have a little interest in the Seattle Bats. I mean, I think you can play both sides of this game. So let's talk about the Seattle Bats. Any interest here in the Seattle Bats for you?
I don't mind Rojas. Steve, I keep believing in Polanco and Rodriguez. And at least Cal Raleigh has hit a couple home runs. I keep believing in these guys. I think you need to take some 2 or 3 mans, even against Simeon Richardson. But I think I mainly stick with these power guys, man. The guys that aren't flashing any power, Steve, I just can't do it.
The whole team's not flashing any power.
Cal Raleigh and Polanco are close. They're close enough.
I mean, Rojas, hitting leadoff there. Like Rojas is having a fantastic start to the season.
He's the best hitter on their team right now.
He's been
It's
like
crazy.
the bright spot, man. So yeah, and like Rojas is someone that can run too, so I don't mind that. But overall, I again, like there's a few teams that I definitely want a 5-man stack today: Kansas City, Texas, LA. But I'm definitely gonna be running a lot more mini like 3-3-2s, 4-4s type of builds today than I typically do. Minnesota side again. I kind of already said how I want to approach Minnesota today. You take Buxton out of the lineup, right? And Buxton is a phenomenal hitter, but like he is a guy that strikes out a lot, so like it awesomely helps Minnesota's lineup. But if Castillo's going to be like massive chalk, I think you could run out some Minnesota stacks today.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to side too much with Minnesota. Like, but I will say this, Stevie, on a small slate like this one, you're not going to. I don't mind a one-off Julian or what like that. That's kind of how I view Minnesota because I do think Julian can still hit a home run and strike out 2 times in this game for what it's worth. Like I think that's definitely possible, and so that's kind of or that's mainly. The approach I'm going to take with them. I mean, you look at, like I said, right-handed pitching, Kirilloff leading off, Stevie, 22% K rate, but a 220 ISO. Julian, 29% K rate, but a 272 ISO. And I'm mainly naming the lefties. Larnett, 20%, not crazy, 235 ISO. So I'm all right with like one-offs, maybe some mini 2 to 3 man, but I don't want to load up.
All right. Here we go. We got Mets at St. Louis taking on the Cardinals. 8 total in this one. Cardinals are 130 favorite. Sean Manaea against Kyle Gibson. Whoa, blast for the pass game here. Any interest in Sean Manaea?
No.
I'm so on the fence because I don't think the Cardinals are great. Like I think
it's just against lefties, man. It's just not striking out right now, and we're going to need the strikeouts. That's my only concern against lefties. Like they're not hitting for power, Stevie. Outside of maybe like Contreras, but they're just so low strikeouts right now.
Yeah, I mean, Crochet had a really solid outing against them on Sunday. I was looking at like 6 strikeouts, 6 innings, and gave up like 1 bomb, but he had a really good outing. The thing is, for me, I don't know if Manaea has enough strikeout ability against righties, and they're not going to have a lot of lefties in this lineup. They'll have a couple, but not enough. So I think I'll pass on Sean Manaea today. Kyle Gibson on the other side. I mean, coming off of a fantastic start against Detroit. Any interest here in Kyle Gibson?
Man, look, like I can't play Kyle Gibson, Stevie. And he's had a good start against Detroit, a good start against Arizona. If the Mets can just not be gutless, Stevie, I think they can get to him. Like he's not. This start against Arizona and Detroit, you're not going to see that from him most of the year, I don't think. I could be wrong. Maybe he's figured something out in his older age, but I trust the Mets a little bit more than Gibson, and that's saying something because very rarely do I trust the Mets against anyone.
Yeah, I mean, so for me on Gibson is like, do I really want to play a guy on a 6-game slate with a strikeout rate under 20% against a low strikeout team?
That's what I'm saying. It's like,
and I think it would be. I think I'd be more interested in Manaea and Gibson. I think I'd be interested in more in these pitchers if this game was in Citi Field. I mean, being in St. Louis is an upgrade to the bats, outside of Citi Field. So I don't think I'll play Gibson today, but I mean, I know I'm crossing off a lot of pitchers. I really don't like a lot of pitchers today.
Stevie, I think my pool in general, and I'm pretty sure this isn't going to change. 1, 2, 3, 4. I think I'm running 4 pitchers today. Yep, 4.
All right, let's talk some bats here. Any interest in the Mets bats?
I do like the Mets, Stevie. I think, I do value, once again, low strikeouts. Hopefully, DJ Stewart, he should be in the lineup. Only Stevie, only a 22% K rate to righties this season, which is good for him. Hitting for nice power, 275. Brandon Nemo leading off. I got it. Let's call him a Juan Soto, not on steroids. If that makes sense. Higher K rate, but we'll take the walk. Stevie, 20% walk rate. A guy that is trying to get on base and trying to make things happen for this offense. I think the Mets are sneaky against Gibson. I think Gibson. I don't think there's an in between with Gibson here, Stevie. With maybe against the Mets it could be, but my thought process, just based on how this team is playing and he's pitching, is either he gets blown up or he throws a gem. I don't think there's an in between, and I do want to stack the Mets slightly, and that makes me sick to my stomach because I hate stacking the Mets.
Yeah, I mean, I like playing them a lot more when they're on the road. So I'm a lot more interested in taking some shots here because they're on the road. But overall, I don't have a ton of interest in the Mets. But I like attacking Gibson with lefties. So Nimmo, Lindor, Stewart, McNeil, Beatty. Those would be my batters here. And if I'm playing the Mets, I'm gonna play some Alonso. I don't care about the handiness. So I don't mind the Mets. I would definitely use them more as a mini stack today. Kyle Gibson's just not great, so there's always that. And then the other side here, Sean Manaea, when he starts getting wild and starts putting guys on bases and stuff, that's when the stacks against him really kind of work out if you can get a couple timely big hits. So I don't ever hate playing hitters against Manaea. It's just, man, it is really hard to get excited about playing the Cardinals this year. But I mean, like you said, Contreras for sure. There's a lot of upside in this lineup. Arenado, Goldschmidt, these guys have been staples against left-handed pitching for years. So it's there. It just hasn't been there yet this season.
I mean, if you're going to do it, Stevie, maybe try to get Sean Manaea, but that's kind of where I am. Contreras, I'm not worried about. Goldschmidt, the K rate's fine. Arenado, the K rate's fine. It's just the power numbers, Stevie. But I gotta think that's going to turn around. I don't think I full stack St. Louis, but I'm in on 3 to 4, if that makes any sense. Against Manaea here.
I think you could play bats in this game for sure. It's kind of close your eyes, try not to watch the game type of plays. There's a lot of upside. I mean, there's a lot of upside. It's just, do they show up? Yeah. It just hasn't happened a lot yet this year, man. Cardinals bats. Yeah. Texas at Oakland, 8 total. Texas a 142 favorite. Andrew Heaney against Alex Wood. Any interest here in Andrew Heaney?
I'm on the fence with Heaney, and I just see. I feel like the answer is no, because I don't know if I need Andrew Heaney today. And when I'm looking at this team against lefties, the thing is, we haven't had a lot of plate appearances this season, but everything suggests that Andrew Heaney could have a field day here, Stevie. And I think maybe I just have to bite the bullet and play him. And just maybe if his ownership is too high, I go under the field and load up a little bit more on a guy like Cole Reagans, who I think is going to get ownership on the slate, but I maybe go overweight on him and underweight on Heaney. So, but Heaney can also get blown up, and that's where I am. So I like him in this spot. Don't love him.
I opened up the slate and I started to research the slate, and I saw Heaney against Oakland. I was like, oh man, Heaney's going to be chalky today.
He is.
And I
think he is.
I cannot wait to stack against him. That was my initial reaction. They have some good bats. They got Ruiz, they got Roker, they got Nevin, they got Toro. JD Davis is back off the IL. He came back over the weekend. Like, that's another really good right-handed bat in this lineup. Like, I say really good. He's really solid for what he is. Not really good, but really solid. I know Ruiz is a little banged up right now. Happened on Saturday. He had like a diving catch. Hopefully he's back in the lineup today.
Please, I like Ruiz.
Yeah, Langeliers. I mean, again, watch out, man. Oakland against left-handed pitching is not something that is like automatic. Against right-handed pitching, sure. Like, one of the worst teams in baseball against right-handed pitching, but like Oakland they're 13th in WRC plus, and they are second in home runs against left-handed pitching behind Baltimore this year. Left-handed pitching. I think I said right-handed pitching, but left-handed pitching. So, yeah, I mean, their strikeout rate's still 24%, but I mean, they're going to put the ball in play a lot, which is great, and they have a lot of upside. So, if he needs chalky, I'm out. I don't know if I full fade him because it's a 6-game slate and it's Oakland, but if he's chalky, man, he is definitely going to be somebody I'm underweight on. I not even have to think twice about it. Any interest in Alex Wood on the other side of this game? Oh, we got a mute. Oh, the over hits early this week.
Ultimate mute too. I'm so embarrassed, man. My bad, guys. But yeah, Alex Wood, super cheap. Not touching him with a 10-foot pole. Alex Wood is in fact not JP Sears, who went out and dominated the Miami Marlins on our last podcast. Just want to bring that up for the people that were around to puke in their mouths and still hit the plus button to plug him in. Yeah, not playing Alex Wood in this spot though. No way.
Yeah, I was wrong for sure. I did not want to play Sears at chalk. And he was chalk, and it worked. And all right. Marlins
I didn't realize he was going to be that chalky though. That semi.
He was chalky too, though.
Yeah,
like,
I know.
He had a lot of ownership on Friday. For me on Alex Wood, he doesn't really strike anybody out. We just saw like no strikeout Daniel Lynch pitch really good against Texas on Sunday.
Oh, don't bank on it. Don't bank on it.
No, I'm not banking on it. I'm just saying, like, check the lineup. They left a lot of lefties in there against Daniel Lynch, and if they can't get these lefties out of the lineup, they're dealing with a couple injuries right now. Texas is. So Wyatt Langford just got put on the IL. I think it was a hamstring injury for him. And, Duffy's out of the lineup right now. He's on the IL. Jung's out of the lineup right now. He's on the IL. So they can't get all the lefties out of the lineup. So, like, not necessarily saying that I want to play Alex Wood because Alex Wood stinks. Just being blunt, like, he's not good anymore. But you don't really expect Alex Wood to pitch too deep into this game. So, like, Oakland's bullpen has been really good. It is so weird how good the Oakland bullpen has been this season. Like, last year they were, like, historically one of the worst bullpens we've ever seen, like, just in general. And it's crazy how much better they are this year. It's just wild to me, but it's working. Whatever they did, obviously Miller is huge, but like they're top 10 in a lot of bullpen statistics this season. So, like, if you get 5 clean innings for Alex Wood and they have a lead against Texas, like, I could see Alex Wood picking up like a cheap win, but I don't want to play Alex Wood. Any interest in the Texas bats here?
Yeah, plenty of interest in the Texas bats for me, Stevie. And once again, against left-handed pitching on the surface, Stevie, and I've said this already, man, have they looked like this thing isn't going to turn around. They haven't been great, but, hopefully we'll start to see some signs of life. Simeon still looking pretty strong here, 22% K rate on the season. The lefties, 200 ISO. Adolis Garcia, 281 ISO, 22% K rate, 429 WOBA. So those are two best that look really good, but I still think this team is much better than Alex Wood. So I'm not worried about Alex Wood overpowering the Texas Rangers. I hate the ballpark, Stevie, and so I don't like playing teams in Oakland, but I still think, Wood could give up a fair amount of hits in this game, and Texas could stick him a bit here.
Yeah, I think it's one of those situations you're stacking against Alex Wood. You're just playing the Texas bats. Alex Wood gives up a lot of hard contact. His ground ball rate is way down. His WOBA is like 432. Yeah, I mean, I think that this is definitely one of those spots you're just like, it's an elite offense against a bad pitcher, and I'm just playing them. And then on the other side, I kind of already gave my thoughts on Oakland. What do you like here for Oakland?
Yeah, I'm all right, Stevie, with one-offs from Oakland. I don't think I go full-fledged five-man stacks here, but I definitely think I don't mind the one-offs. Like Toros look good this season. Nevin, you talked about Ruiz. If my boy, let me say this, Steve, my boy Ruiz is back. He's like my ultimate one-off play. Has been most of the season. One of my favorite bats on this team. He will, in fact, for sure, be in my lineups. Love those handful of guys.
All right, we finish it out with Miami at LA taking on the Dodgers. 8.5 total. Dodgers a 260 favorite in this one. Rodry Munoz against Walker Buehler. I can't read my own handwriting sometimes. Don't you love when you do that? I love when I do that. But we got Munoz against Buehler. Buehler making his first start of the season. He had Tommy John surgery. I think it was towards the end of the 2022 season. So, yeah, I mean, I think that he threw 6 rehab starts. Really hasn't pitched deep yet into a rehab start. So, again, I don't know what we really want to expect him as far as like that goes. Any interest in Munoz here going up against the Dodgers?
So Stevie, K rates for the Dodgers as a team starting to come down. I know that it reached Andy Pages. Is it Pages? Paez. Listen, him coming over. Miguel Rojas playing a little bit more. And maybe all those guys don't make it because they'll for sure probably have Muncy playing today. But either way, like they're starting to come around. I think they give him some trouble. I will say this, Stevie, at 7,200, I actually probably feel better about him than I do Woods Richardson in terms of skills right now. I think I squeeze him in 1 or 2 just to see how he does, but I'm still going to load up on the Dodgers if that makes any sense.
I don't have any interest in Munoz today. His walk rate's scary to me. His control and command is scary. He's shown great strikeout stuff so far, but it was against the Rockies and the Cubs. Like he got the Cubs in Wrigley in colder weather, and then he got Colorado in Miami. Like 2 amazing spots to start your career here. Sorry, young fella. Today you get to play the best baseball team in the majors. Sorry. Walker Buehler, 9,300. At how many pitches are you interested in Walker Buehler today?
It would have to be 85.
He threw 75 in his last rehab outing. I don't think the Dodgers don't do the whole 15 to 20 pitch increase thing. I think Buehler throws 75 to 85 pitches in this game.
Yeah, and let me just say this, Stevie. I'm fading Buehler more for, let's call it the rust factor, if you will. I just need to see him, man. I got to see him. Like, I haven't seen him, pitch. And I know he's had some rehab starts. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, what does he have? 21 strikeouts to 9 walks in 21 and a half innings, 22. I can't remember the specifics. I'm not looking at it. I'm just kind of going off what I was looking at before the show. But I even though it's Miami, I'd just rather see him pitch. I think he's too expensive for the production we're going to get this first start. Bottom line.
I kind of like Buehler. I kind of like him. Velocity a little bit down. Like the velocity being down is a little worrisome. The pitch count's worrisome, but like How many
If I could
pitches
play
do you
JP
need against
Steers,
the
I could play
Marlins?
Walker Buehler.
I was going to
get
say,
it.
how many pitches do you need against the Marlins on a 6-game slate? Like, you're kind of just hoping he gets 5 innings and gets the win. Like, and he goes out and he does his like thing and gets 6 to 8 strikeouts or something. Like, if he was like 10-5, I'm out. But the fact that like he's 9,300, I think I'm going to play a little bit. I don't know how much I'll end up playing. I think it's going to come down to ownership too. Like, if everybody is scared of him and he's like projected for like 15%, might run like 30% of him. I might double the field. Just because like pitching on this slate stinks. It's just not good. There's a lot of downside options here. Like Castillo against Minnesota, there's downside there, right? Minnesota's better. Justin Steele, we don't know how deep he's going to pitch into the game. San Diego doesn't strike out. Cole Reagans, we like him a lot. Yu Darvish, he's solid. Sean Manaea, Kyle Gibson, Munoz, Woods Richardson. There's like all these downside options, and it's like, do I just play Reagans and Buehler and build bats around those guys? I mean, I think that's definitely a viable strategy today. So as much as like the pitch count and like Dave Roberts worries you just in general, but I mean, it's hard for me not to have a little bit of interest in him. He's getting the Marlins, and he's 9,300, and he threw 75 pitches. So like, at a bare minimum, if he's pitching really well and he throws 75 pitches at 9,300 and he gets 5 innings and he strikes out 6 with 75 pitches, like, I'm okay with that. Marlins don't have any power. They don't have any power in this lineup outside of Jake Berger, and like Jake Berger is much better against like left-handed pitching. So Jazz is not a power guy. I think only one hitter in this team has an ISO over 150 this season against right-handed pitching. So
yeah,
it's hard not to have a little bit of interest in Buehler. Unless he's chalky. Now, if he's chalky, that you can play the opposite factor of like, hey, you know, is he rusty? He hasn't pitched in the big since August of 2022.
Yeah, I'm with you. And as an aside, how bad does your organization have to be to burn down a team at the beginning of the season when you just burned down this team like 2 to 3 years ago? It's like, what is Miami doing? This is wild.
Dude, they broke down a team after winning the World Series. Was it 1997 or something? Whatever year it was. They shipped off the whole team.
Yeah.
Whatever.
This team, man. Jeez.
Yeah. Machi, yes, I have been to Martinsville Speedway. All right. Bats, any interest in the Marlins bats here?
No.
Yeah, I don't have any interest in, like, that's the thing, right? There's just nobody to play. Dodgers, I think they're a top stack on this slate. I think you definitely want to get exposure to the Dodgers on this slate.
Stacking them top to bottom. Yeah. Don't have to sell, I don't think we have to sell anyone. Load them up.
Yeah, I mean, again, like, he's shown some strikeout upside for sure, but he does struggle with like walks. And you start walking the Dodgers, you're gonna be in for a long or short day, really.
Yeah. For sure.
And like Miami's bullpen, like they shipped a lot of those guys off too, where they were really decent in the bullpen last year. They're bottom 10, almost a bottom 5 bullpen this year. If you guys are curious, just in general, like Toronto's bullpen is atrocious. They've been awful. The Angels bullpen, Tampa's bullpen, like they've been really bad. Yeah. 1997 and 2003, the Marlins sold all their players after winning the World Series. So there you go.
Well, they did it. They did it also a couple years ago when they sent Yelich out the door. They sent Stanton out the door. They sent my boy with the Braves out the door. Like they sent them all out. I don't know. It's weird.
Derek says you got to get the hot dog at Martinsville. Don't do that. That's just a terrible, terrible idea. All right. Play the morning grind game, and then we'll get out of here. Nice little Monday. And yeah. Jose Fernandez was a absolute superstar. RIP. Just an absolute superstar. That dude. His tunnels and like his arm angles and like his pitch mix. Dude was a superstar. Yeah, he hated that. Under 8K to get 6 or more strikeouts. Who do you got today?
I'm going to go with Simeon Woods Richardson facing Seattle. He could give up 5 runs and still get the strikeouts.
Yeah, I I don't think there's a right answer to this question today. I think all these guys are very risky. I mean, if I had to pick somebody, it'd probably be Heaney, even though like I like Oakland today. Over 8K to score under 15. Who's your bust?
I'm going Steele, even though they're in Wrigley with the wind blowing in. I don't coming off the IL. Once again, I like Steele as a pitcher, but I think he's my most likely candidate right now. And that's saying something considering I don't think Buehler's going 85 pitches today.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Luis Castillo. I do think Luis Castillo scores over 15, but it's just tough for me to pick any of these other guys. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna place Castillo. I think Minnesota is a lot better than most people give them credit for than anything else.
Yep.
Over 4K to hit a home run. Who's going yard today?
Give me Adolis Garcia facing Alex Wood.
Garcia. I like it. I like that one. I gotta look and see if my guy is over 4K or not. I didn't check. Yeah, he's exactly 4K. Are we gonna count that for a home run if he's exactly 4K?
Let's do it.
All right, give me Brent Roker to hit a home run from Oakland. He's exactly 4K. Under 4K to get 2 hits. Who's a cheap bat that you like here today?
Listen, man, I think there's a fair amount of guys we can use. I'm going a little closer to the top, man. I like Kansas City, and I think they've got so many guys. I'm going a little off the board here. Give me I think he'll play today. Give me Melendez. Give me Melendez.
All right, well, I'm going to stay in that same game, and I'm going to go to Michael Massey. This dude is just hitting everything. Every day it seems like Michael Massey's getting multiple hits. He's raking right now. He's seeing the ball really well, and he's hitting. So give me Michael Massey here at 3,300. No way, deep red goodness. Oh my gosh, the hot dogs in Martinsville. Oh man, unless you like clearing out your system, the hot dogs in Martinsville are just awful. Oh man, just rough. Anyway, man, I just got heartburn. I got heartburn thinking about the Martinsville hot dogs. Stack to score 6 or more runs. What do you got today?
Give me the Rangers.
Texas. I'm going to go Kansas City against Bryce Wilson. I really like the Royals. They give you home run upside. They give you stolen base upside. And I think this is a great slate for them. I assume the Dodgers and the Rangers are going to be really popular. Any pick 'em plays or props that you like on this one? I didn't see a ton of stuff up yet. Anything jumping off the board to you here?
I know Cole Reagans was at 7.5 last I checked. Castillo's at 6.5. In terms of strikeouts, he's at 17.5 for the outs. I was going to take it, Stevie, but he's at minus 155. If you can get him on the pick'em sites at 17.5, I'd probably take that. He's got a pretty long leash, and as long as he's pitching well, he'll get that. I don't mind him at over 17.5 outs if you can get it on the pick'em sites.
Yeah, so mine today, I'm actually going to one of the guys that you mentioned in the morning grind game. Give me Adolis Garcia over 1.5 total bases. It's at plus 110 on DraftKings. I really like that. Alex Wood, you always got to worry about like Garcia, like his strikeouts, but like Alex Wood's not going to blow the ball by anybody. So getting Adolis Garcia at plus money for over 1.5 total bases, all it takes is a double. You obviously like his home run upside in this matchup, but give me Adolis Garcia over 1.5. Any lines that you like here today?
And give me a second. I was right on that page, and I was trying to check through. I I think I'm going to take the Rangers at minus 132. You're getting that on Bet River right now. That's a really nice one. I think close enough to not having too much juice. And I think the Rangers win this game outright.
So I already bet this, but I really like Oakland over 3.5 runs today. Again, Andrew Heaney continues to struggle with command, and I think that this is a really solid spot for Oakland. They're quietly really good against left-handed pitching, and when I was looking at some of the stuff for like Texas's bullpen, they're very hit or miss. They have struggled a lot this season, just in general. So I like Oakland over 3.5 runs. You're not going to get that many days from me. Many days I'm going to be picking on Oakland, but I like their over 3.5 runs today. I have found a lot of value in betting lines this year, Will, just in general, of just kind of looking at some of these bad teams and good matchups, and like some of the run totals being down because they're a bad team, but facing a really bad pitcher or bad bullpens or something. And like, I found a lot of value in that this year so far.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Lucky you.
That's going to wrap it up here for Monday. I hope everyone has a fantastic day. We're back on Tuesday talking baseball. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button over there on the RotoGrinders Morning Grind YouTube page. Hit the notifications and come hang out with us live when we're doing these shows. It's a lot of fun. Back tomorrow. Good luck, everyone. We'll see you again.